welcome to a new Harry's Garage video, and this is part 5 of this Lotus Emira tour into Italy. Obviously we've been down Switzerland, going to see Milan Pagani, then on to Ferrari, and after Ferrari we then went in to see some friends in Firenze, Florence, about 2 hours from Maranello. Dropped down into Florence, madness as ever, crowded, all Italians trying to get there, everywhere in a hurry, cobbled streets, narrow streets, and we had a fantastic time in Florence. And now we're coming up, and this video is all going to be about taking my Lotus Emira, which is now run in. I think it's got 1,250 miles recorded now, and we're heading back to the UK, and I have to be in the UK tomorrow night. We came out of Florence this morning, and we've been met, while I'm doing the intro for this video, inside the car because it's raining outside. If you just swing round, you can see where we are. We're a little way up the Passo della Futa. This is the Futa Pass we're on at the moment, and because it's grotty weather, there doesn't seem to be anybody here. It's 9 degrees, and because it's sort of damp and wet, it's quite a test for this Emira. And it's, at the moment, it's flying, it's really very good. It's just nimble, you feel in control, the lovely light controls, the turning, and the understeer doesn't seem to exist, which there seemed to be on those press cars, those early press cars. This seems a beautifully balanced car going up here. So I'm going to head off. What I think we're going to do on this video, we aren't going to do it all on the Futa Pass and you'll join us all the way up back to the UK, because there's an awful lot of motorway going to be involved, but there is a bit of Autobahn on the way. Whether I show that, we'll see what the conditions are. That'll be tomorrow morning, and then when I get back to the UK, I'm going to do a debrief on the Lotus Emira after 2,500 miles, what I've discovered about it. But for the moment I want to get going, because the Futa Pass beckons and there doesn't seem to be any traffic around. We've got the chassis set up in sport, it just adds a little bit of exhaust sound to it. It's such a famous bit of the, when you're doing the Milan, this is the Milan route, and this is absolutely crowded, this bit. Crowds either side. I'm a bit concerned on the low cloud, but this is where you want a car that is very easy to read and control. Sort of damn miserable. Anybody would think it was November. The date now, I think it's the 19th of November. Oh, so this is quite a nattery, tight little section just in these woods. Not want to be on a bike up here at all. Almost didn't have enough rock to get around there. It's great if you ever get the chance to see the Milan cars through this bit. It's different. I don't know where it finds the traction. It should be washing out here, and yet it's not. I am staggered. The grip it's finding. This is on those Goodyears as well. If I'd spec Cup 2s on it, it would have been a complete disaster on roads like this. But these Goodyears are extraordinary. Just hear the diff just locking up as we come out of these bends. But front, amazing, locked on line, and I really wasn't expecting it to be as good as this. And it's so nice to be able to free to use the revs. And now we go into the cloud. That's Waze just telling me we're getting near the top of the pass. That's fantastic. Well, hope that gives you an idea of the Futa Pass and how this Emira keeps on surprising me. with its sort of ability in these sort of grotty conditions. I'm not going to go all the way up the Futa Pass when it's like this. There is a little place I can come off and join onto the Autostrada, because I do not want to do the Futa Pass in grotty conditions like this. This is a well-known, yeah, there's some decent cars all lined up. Yeah. Not the day for it, but enjoyed that. Now onto the Autostrada. Right, well, we're off the Futa Pass and we're on the Autostrada, and the weather has got worse, if anything. 2-speed wipers, I'm on the 2nd speed on the wipers, and we've done a bit of Christmas shopping. I can never get over Italian services and what they have on sale. So we've got 2 panettones, we have nougat, we have olive oil, etc. And somehow I've just come under here, undercover, and then we'll pack it all away. It is 3 o'clock. We're going to head up towards Switzerland somewhere and stay overnight, and then the blast back to the UK is tomorrow. But a bit of a packing challenge about to start right now. Well, morning. Yesterday we came across out of Italy, Futa Pass, horrible weather coming up, and then into Switzerland again. We stayed the night in Switzerland. If you're wondering why it's a bit noisy this morning, well, I'm standing, just come out of the Swiss border and onto the A5, which is this derestricted Autobahn that leads from Bâle up to Frankfurt. And it'd be rude not to take the Emira on it and see what it is. The trucks are all off the road. There's this lovely gent here who has trucked out, and he's got the most wonderful sort of Sunday lunch he's about to create. I think he must have some mates coming around, because there's an awful lot of steak to eat. But I'm intrigued how the Emira is going to perform on here. I did also check this morning the oil level. I suddenly realised I hadn't checked it at all on this journey. It's done 1,600 miles now, thereabouts. We've got 1,000 kilometres to do today, 600 miles. It hasn't budged an inch. It's absolutely crystal clear oil, and it's right at the very top on the dipstick, which is good news. So what I'm going to do now, we've got some cameras set up, and I just want to see the sort of speed in the gears and that sort of thing. And we'll head off, and we've got a stretch of about 120 kilometres of mix of Autobahn, but because the lorries are all parked up on a Sunday, it's a good time to sort of do this sort of thing. It is, it's a lovely day for it. I mean, it's cool. What is it, 9 degrees? Can't get over those lorry drivers. They have to stay there till tomorrow morning. So some wait. No wonder they have to get their Sunday lunch together and all have them. Let's get the right things up on the dash as well. Tyre pressures. Weirdness is actually, as you come out of Switzerland, it's immediately de-restricted. I'm just intrigued with the gearing line. I'm in 4th. normal feel. It's not, you know the car doesn't do 200 miles an hour, so there's not the temptation, oh my god, I'm going to see 200 miles an hour. It's a good level of performance though. That's told me everything I really want to know about this at high speed. It feels quick, you feel very engaged, it's very direct steering. But yeah, 140, 150 is its happy place, cruising. So there we go, there's a little bit of Autobahn. We'll head up here, up to Strasbourg, hang a left, off to Calais, Euro Tunnel, and the next time you join us, we'll be back home in the garage and I'll run through my thoughts on this car after about 2,500 miles of driving it in just a week. Well, it's 7 days since I was last in here, and we have covered nearly 2,500 miles in the Emira in that time. We've collected it from Heffel, we went to France, we went to Switzerland, we went to Italy, and then we came back again. And what have I learned over that time? Well, quite a lot, as you'd probably imagine. I actually got home last night and I opened it up and took all the luggage out, because the first shock was how much we fitted in this car. And we did a bit of shopping on the way home, as you probably saw. Staggering how useful that space is behind the seats. And the boot is seen to be bigger. As long as you use sort of soft bags, etc., you can get quite a lot in. Other things I've learnt: great headlights, nice surprise, but the standard LED headlights on them have real piercing power on main beam. A slight negative is they're not auto dipping, which you sort of expect on today's cars at, you know, £80,000 or thereabouts price point. I also learnt that it has lots of ground clearance, and that's really useful. Speed bumps in lots of places around Europe, local to me as well, and it hasn't got suspension lift, but it doesn't actually need it. And when you're coming out of hotels or when there's a sort of ramp to go up, this car is about as good as it gets. Keep on coming round. Cleaned the car this morning and it was absolutely smothered in brake dust. You see all the brake dust on the inside of the wheel. I can't clean it all out, but just if you get in an Emira, you'll be cleaning the wheels quite a lot. Vision out. I think it's probably better when I'm actually driving it, you'll see, but it's a really deep windscreen, and it's particularly deep around this mirror area. You sort of look underneath, but I'll show you that when we're inside. Yeah, if I just open it up, it's very easy, that access to that rear. It's a complete black hole in here, you can't really see a thing, but it's super useful, easy to get squashy bags. Seats, another big surprise. No aches or pains after 2,500 miles. Really wasn't expecting that. When I first got in, I would question the seats. Having driven that sort of mileage, I don't know, they work. Really work as seats. Very comfy in there. You saw me do the water test, but something I've just noticed, it's quite hard to close. You sort of just think, you close like that, and you think it's closed, but I can see there's a yellow light up there, and I also know that isn't lined up. There's a secondary push to do like that, and then it's closed. And I haven't found a way around that. It never closes on sort of first close. There's a secondary push. Key. A right pain, because I spec the tracker unit on it. You've got to carry this. And there's a tiny little thing here that you're meant to put a key ring on or something to attach something to it. Impossible. I think you're going to have to use one of those sort of loop key rings, etc. These are just little incidental issues I found with owning the car, because there's lots of positives, but the key one is how it drives. And the final part of this video, I want to take it on my test route, all run in, and just see how it compares to all the other cars I've taken down there. So I'm going to nip outside and you'll join me on that favourite bit of road of mine. Just before we get to my road, just going to run through some of the things I'm not quite so sure about. Just when you start up, it's all a bit hushed, and then there's this, you just heard it then, there, a sort of gearbox sound. Very reminiscent actually of GT3. It seems to be a sort of race car sort of sound from the gearbox. Very distinctive to this. But when you start up in Tour, I feel a bit hypocritical saying this, it's quite quiet. Having just enjoyed those electric 2.9 or hybrid 296 and McLaren Artura and liking the way they sounded out quiet. This is the same, it just sounds a bit hollow. You can't quite believe there's a 3.5 litre supercharged engine behind you. I'm actually going to go into sport here. Now this is my favourite bit of road down here. Just check the geometry on it. It's got about half a degree of negative at the front, which I think is within spec. Unfortunately, it wasn't in the handle. But my goodness me, it's very Lotus. Let's have a look at it here. Yeah, there's a slight bit of tram line. You can see it heading for the hitch, but look at it shouting. It's like blind press it shouting coming through the steering wheel. There is no mistaking. You get to read an awful lot of what the road surface is like through the wheel. And it will be a shock to anyone who drives a regular car and electric steering to get to feel what you get from this car. Some of the slight dislikes, that's what I was meant to be doing. This dash readout is a bit odd. It's a bit faint and it's quite hard to see. It's sort of like the performance on there. It's a bit knocked back when you're using the navigation. It's all a bit hard to see and smaller font than's really useful, but the CarPlay works really well and I just ping it straight up and I do it on Waze or Google Maps in actual fact, and you can see it's quite prone to reflections. Positive side, the actual dash readout here in between the wheel, fantastic layout. I really like how it works. It's dead easy to scroll through things on here. You can do it by touch or by just pressure on the tops and bottoms. Phone calls, people are saying it's really good when they're talking to me on the hands-free, cruise control, etc. But there's other things I find that's missing. As I say, I would like the auto dip lights. I would like a blind spot indicator, especially when you're driving in Europe, because it's always useful to have a second eye, and you just quite narrow your vision through the back. Right, let's see over this bump. Yeah, handle that very well. Around here, no, it's just going to be ace around there. I know it is. The press cars were as well. Oh, it just rolls into there. It's just on. It just wants to go down the road. It's a terrier-like feel from behind the wheel. It's just on it. And I suppose that's you know, when we were on the Autobahn and I was up at big speeds, 150 plus, it was sort of slightly nervous on the steering. The trade-off from that is the fantastic feel at normal speeds on UK roads. It's the fact that it hasn't got a sneeze factor, shall we say, built in, which is fine. That's what a race car is like. They don't try and get stability at speed. They just give you all the feel they can give you. And that's what this car delivers. There's some hedges here, which is rather unfortunate. The only thing that happened on the trip's peculiar one is the wipers. If you had them on auto white for a while, and then it really started raining heavily when we were in Italy, I went up to put it into second speed, and they stayed at the same speed. Very odd. I pulled over, turned the car off, and they went back to normal again. But every time you've left it on auto for a while on the wiper, you then can't get this higher speeds for some reason. But I'm loving the Tour suspension setup on this. I just go over these crests here. It's lovely, it breathes with the road. When you're actually in town, it's a little bit knobbly. Get it up to speed and it just flows down a road like this. It's really top notch. I think Lotus have shot themselves in the foot with offering sport as well as Tour. It's so hard to choose without driving the cars back to back, and I think they should have made it clearer, because I think sport is a bit too hard setup and should have come standard with the Cup 2 tyres. And then I just think this seat doesn't quite have the support in the shoulders that you really want with a true sport setup. So Tour for me is absolutely bang on for this car. Suits it down to the ground. We've done big miles on it, no comfort, non-issue, and then round these bends it's just ace. Just iffy conditions today with a bit of slip, just a bit of dampness, heel and towing perfect, solid pedal round in, no understeer which you'd expect, and power out. Just speeded up there, didn't it? I do like the engine setup on this because it's horsepower driven. The supercharger adds that torque, bottom end torque, but it doesn't dominate as perhaps a turbo engine would. This one is torque, and then at the top end is this rush of horsepower as you go. So it feels normally aspirated almost from behind the wheel, but with that extra torque at the bottom end. It's fantastic at that. So there, yeah, 3,000 RPM, and away it goes. So you can ride the torque at the bottom end, and then when you feel like really chasing the red line, where it rewards you by adding horsepower all the way to the cutout at 6.8. The most gobsmacking thing about this car, this interior and how it works and how it makes you feel. And Evora, I always quite liked the Evora, I just could never buy one because I just couldn't cope with the interior. This one, fit and finish, is off the frigging scale. It's a bit like new and old Defender. I could never own an old Defender, I just couldn't put up with its antics, with its nonsense cabin. New one, crikey, it's a completely different car, and it feels like that with this Emira over Evora, and yet the drivetrain is identical, near identical. The feel, the engine, although it seems to rev better and there's a better gear change than I remember. I think if you're coming out of an Evora into this, you'd be wanting more from the engine and gearbox because it's just the same as it was before. And, you know, if the interior doesn't do it, if that's not what you're buying the car for, you're going to be slightly disappointed, and you probably want the i4, the 4-cylinder AMG engine. But for me, I want that manual gearbox. The appeal of this car is this is the last manual gearbox Lotus that's going to be built. Massive appeal for me for that. That's how I want to use a car. I love its analog. I love the way it's geared for the road, not for CO2. Doesn't got the stop start on it. It's got a low first gear to get it going, and then from second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, they're all usable gears and fairly closely stacked. And the other thing over Evora is it's 10 grand cheaper. And that never happens with a new car. So there's no wonder there's a waiting list on it, and I'm not surprised from behind the wheel. It has surprised me, and I just can't wait to own it for some time, because it does everything I want. I love the 400 horsepower. That's a great amount of power. I'm not searching these crazy numbers that we seem to get from sports cars today, and the price I paid is half the cost of the options on that Ferrari 296 press car I had in the other day. I know it's a lot of money, 77, but it gives you an awful lot of car if you do sign up for one. Over the box of the Cayman, to me, there's just more appeal to this Lotus Emira. It's better looking, it's unique. I'm not always thinking, oh, maybe I should have bought the 911. This sits on its own. I really enjoyed it. my week with it, putting these miles on. Who knows what we're going to do in the future, but it's a firm hit, more usable, and I still love the looks of it as well. So there you go. There, after a week with the Emira, that's my thoughts on it. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you have, keep watching, keep subscribing. More videos coming on very soon.